increasing cost of living, where's the respite going to come from? And I think this is also in response to the fact that she's got quite a bit of stiff opposition coming up to her within the party as well. She's starting to face resistance with plans that, possibly they want to do away with her. So for me, I think it was just a breath of fresh air that as much as I may not agree with the policy around stamp duty, I do think that it was a breath of fresh air to see her focus on these.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, Dr.
All right. Constance, always such a pleasure. All right, you're watching Daybreak. We've got plenty more still ahead, including a compelling conversation that you don't want to miss. So sit down and relax because Daybreak continues after this break.
The Imo State government most cordially invites Imo State stakeholders and the general public to the unveiling of My Imo Art and the graduation ceremony of 10,000 youth trained and equipped under the course Please Kill Imo project. My Imo Art is a one-stop platform designed to connect Imo people at home and abroad to development in the state and enable them to be part of the governance process. Come and witness the making of history and the fulfillment of a promise by the visionary government of distinguished Senator Okusabima CON, the transformative governor of Imo State. Date, Friday, October 10, 2025. Venue, Ojo International Conference Center, Wadi. Time, 10 a.m. His Excellency Governor Okusabima CON, Governor of Imo State. From Cosmos Hill, Secretary to the Government of Imo State.
Guy, with the rising cost of things, we need to shout our next move. Guy, I agree with you. I mean, with the money we make, we should not be struggling with our finances at all.
Maybe you both need better banking options.
What do you know about better banking options?
I recently moved my salary account to Polaris Bank, and since then, it's been a smooth ride for me. They bought over my existing loan and gave me better interest rates and repayment terms.
Are you serious?
Yes, as a Polaris salary account holder, I can get personal term loans, auto loans, mortgage, 50% salary advance, credit card, and more without going to the bank.
Really?
I've got a personal term loan already. See, here's my credit card too.
How do I make the move?
Simple. Open a Polaris salary account on Vault. Use salary account as your referral code.
My guy, I am moving my salary account now.
Get personal term loan and more with your Polaris salary account. Vault is available on Google Play Store and Apple App Store.
It's 7:38 West African time. This is Daybreak. Thank you for staying with us. Now, today is the World Sight Day, a global call to love your eyes and ensure vision care is accessible, affordable, and available for everyone. In Nigeria, an estimated 24 million people live with some form of sight defect, with 84% of blindness due to preventable causes like uncorrected cataracts or refractive errors. Even though Nigeria launched the National Eye Health Guidelines, strengthened eye care access, huge gap remains, especially in rural areas with limited specialist services. On this day, the message is clear. We must prioritize eye health by raising awareness, expanding screenings, training more eye care professionals, and integrating vision services into primary health care.
Well, now how can Nigeria act to prevent blindness? What do citizens need to do to care for their eyes better? To answer these questions and to shed more light on the significance of the day, we're joined in the studio by Dr. Anderson Chimeziri, who is the president of the Nigerian Optometric Association. Doctor, good morning and a warm welcome to Daybreak.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to be here having this conversation, and of course, we're all wondering how can we improve access to eye care for average Nigerians on this World Sight Day. What do the statistics also say about accessibility to this kind of care?
Yeah, World Sight Day this year, the theme is Love Your Eyes, and something is vision for everyone. And we know that the WHO, through the International Agency for the Prevention of Blindness, have been mounting a campaign leveraging on the WHO universal health coverage to make sure that there is vision for everyone. And we are professionals at every level and doing everything to make sure that we carry high quality delivery to the underserved communities and everywhere, especially to the vulnerable populations. As mentioned, one of the two major causes of visual impairment remains cataract and, of course, refractive error. And from latest studies, about 71 million Nigerians are suffering from one form of visual impairment or the other due to refractive error. That's a very huge number. And I think a lot needs to be done, and that is why we're here to see how we can, through digital technology, through devices, and through innovations, reach out to areas that naturally, normally you couldn't reach them, because there are a lot of people that are having this problem, and the population is densely in the rural areas. Okay, I'll bring this matter to a precarious level. I remember when I was a former, sometimes early 2000, former prison worker, and we noticed that many of the drivers were having accidents. Suddenly, someone suggested to the Director General that there should be an eye test for the drivers. And it was discovered that many of them failed the eye test, and they had to recommend some glasses. To address this at an early stage, what should be the kind of intervention? Do we need a public-private partnership? What kind of strategic intervention do we need? Because this is a very serious case. We have a lot of people driving. We have a lot of people handling very strategic positions. So with 24 million having one form of eye defect or the other, it calls for a crucial and urgent intervention. Yeah, quite. At our level, as the Nigerian Road Operating Association, some years ago, we've done, during this World Sight Day, we've done a kind of exercise where we documented the data. Across Nigeria, we screened all the drivers in the parks and in the various locations across Nigeria, and we had a very comprehensive report which we have submitted to the federal government. The first question we ask is how many drivers are using their glasses, and the other question, the other thing is the stigma that is associated with wearing glasses. For example, you just enter the bus, want to enter a taxi, and the driver is wearing very thick glasses. The first thing that comes to your mind, this man is not seeing very well. So you see that most drivers, even though they have refractive error or visual impairment, they hide it because they feel like people will not want to patronize them because they know they have problem. And that is the message we need to pass on to the public, that the driver who is wearing his glasses means well, is a more responsible driver than the one that hides his visual impairment. I have experienced that myself. I had to conduct a driver's vision test for a ministry in Benue State. And when I did that, I discovered that two drivers were driving. One eye is completely blind, the other eye is a vision of 6/24, which is very dangerous. And sometimes they drive in the night. So this is an accident that is waiting to happen, but they hide it. I also had to conduct a driver's vision test for a company, a transport company, and most of the drivers were not willing to submit themselves for the screening because they were afraid they would be disqualified and they would lose their job. So a lot is being done to create the needed awareness. Be a responsible driver by wearing your glasses. And in that note, a call from the federal safety relevant agencies to partner with us to ensure that there is proper vision screening before driver's license are issued. We've been on this for quite a long time, but I think there is need for relevant laws to be enacted in that area. But we also discovered that at the state level, it's possible that through the state transport office, this thing can be enforced to make sure that drivers, not just to test when you get the license, but make it a routine annual test, because the vision problem can develop at any moment. So make it an annual or biannual routine. While they are doing their work. I think that is and I believe and hope that the government will see to it and this is done.
Great, and some of the other things you're
Somebody
promoting as well is that you're hoping to get some form of a subsidy into eye care, especially with moving more specialists into primary healthcare facilities and so forth. Now, unfortunately, the word subsidy has become somewhat of a bad word in Nigeria today, but how are you going about engaging the powers that be to get that much needed succor? Because the funding is the real issue here. How are you navigating that?
Being the president of the Nigerian Optometric Association, I'm a member of the National Eye Health Committee. Now the National Eye Health Program, the National Eye, Ear and Sensitive Program. And we have been advocating for deployment of professionals at the primary healthcare level and what we call integrating eye care into primary healthcare. Yes, it's been a very big challenge in terms of salary and emolument and deploying experts. And that's why we're coming with innovations, what we call teleoptometry. Teleoptometry is a system where we leverage on digital technology, plan satellite sensors and coordinate it from the urban area. For example, I could have one and then I could also have 4 teleoptometry where the community health workers can train to identify some of these problems, transmit them to the base hospital where the doctor could interpret and maybe do a virtual diagnosis. So that's the technology that can help us to achieve this coverage very, very speedily and effectively. So that is what now the need to have peaceful manpower in various areas. And I think the program is through the National Health Program is buying this idea and also launch the outreach program. Now the outreach program is a situation where there is a kind of timely intervention. Visiting the rural areas, some form of care, following up from time to time. In Benue State, for example, having such a program. Keeper Eye Hospitals, they have launched a new mobile that contains all the in the vehicle, so they can go on the what we are doing is that every hospital send a complicated case to the location of the outreach, their account screens, very, very complicated. A strategy that we can use to fulfill the needs of eye health coverage. So a lot of things are being done. The Nigerian Association will have everywhere in Nigeria. As I'm talking to you, the program going on in Kano, in Jigawa, in Lagos, everywhere. You know,
that my friend, that my customer.
To the zones and the rural areas. And that's why we present them of the frontline caregivers eye care. And that doesn't stop the government.
Why again they one of 45?
Even if we talk about 774 local not too much for the government to on another note now.
He's suggesting an MRI because Nigeria, they make this decision.
the potential
This thing they should suppose don't stop.
of having a
After this long
But
time.
since that
And
time,
since that time, we don't do it again.
When you look at that, fundamentally,
you
So we want to
say,
do
I
is to
think
find out whether
I
we can
can-
we are undermining from because of.
project for many
but
Nigerians that
now
are
what you
denied
supposed to do? Just that because of
affordability.
money.
Yeah, but I never even to pay the finish of him
That day,
that day.
affordable.
To collect
I
I had to
the
go and start looking for begging for money here and then before I come from.
Thank you. First, it's already something that we can leverage on. The National Health Insurance Authority is already there. We are engaging the agency to improve on eye care, and recently they have
Problem in-
improved
yeah.
tariffs and paid to eye care providers.
Yeah, we need that medical care.
And
Don't have
the
the money.
President of Nigeria, Senator Dr. Ahmed Bola Tinubu,
But the money now,
compulsory
I'm
I'm going to
all,
X-ray culture. They still
employees
I'm
in the
going
government
to X-ray
agencies.
culture.
yeah, every hospital, where
Or from time to time, I work on the
Program. So with
Half
that,
salary,
we are
every month.
able to go a long way.
every month I go
With the
to
health
no,
insurance,
not your every month.
Take care of
And the hope was not 10,000 for
the
salary.
affordability aspect, because
For
once
the
you are
students,
enrolled,
for the students.
you can now walk into any accredited eye
If
clinic.
it's somewhere hard to
have
fight.
eyes
Okay, what you get in an
examination,
FSC?
Nah, FSC permit.
lenses without paying.
Because he went down, he went to everybody, he went down,
That is
like
making
the,
it affordable.
my game and
on our part, we are also
no con the,
requesting that the government include
Settle-
the
Any
eye
indicator where you have
care
continue to what that's
material,
Stop.
ceramic,
because the salary will
machines
stop
and
now.
It will stop now.
Oh,
in the waiver as in
As soon as federal
granted
can
to
salary and that,
pharmaceutical
I'm not
products
happy at all.
to make it easy for us.
See, it makes
Because
sense.
most of
I would
the
say,
eye
salary,
care
I mean,
consumables, lenses, they are all
for
important.
at
We
least for
don't
the
have
next
any lens manufacturing company in
session
Nigeria.
or one session, pending,
That's
okay,
what
somebody
it is,
might be able to
it
come
will
and
be
take it.
depending on the dollar
You
exchange,
understand?
naira
Yeah,
exchange
they
rate.
will not just
So when
talk.
the dollar goes high, the
You
equipment
understand?
goes
Not to
high.
help
So if
the-
that can be
the
done, it will
Oh,
reduce
yeah,
the
you are
cost
practicing
of
that
importing this equipment. On our level at the NOA, we have engaged a Dubai
Yeah,
company that is now giving this equipment to our members at a zero interest rate and a 2 years moratorium, 2 years period to pay. So that's an initiative that
After all,
is
the
helping
fees,
a lot of
the
them
federal,
to have this diagnostic
the
equipment
federal,
and
yeah,
to also
yeah,
reduce
private
the
school,
cost of the charges and the
much?
services that for the working session.
Surely less than
These
30,000
are
naira.
ways, we
But the problem is that the man won't get
help to reduce the
So how you gonna promise?
accessibility. I've already mentioned what we are doing in the area of accessibility, what government can do to make eye care very accessible. But on the long run, a lot still needs to be done to see that
Yeah,
eye care
he talks like that,
is
he talks like he-
very
Okay.
affordable.
On a final note,
And so,
on
when
a
is the
final
don't
note,
give money?
you know, all things that you and I
What you present.
individuals, you know, what are some of the basic, easy tests we can do at home? Just, you know, and how frequently should we be checking our eyes?
Nobody is supposed to
And
put money, but because
Yeah,
you know, we make it
the
work.
standard is to have an annual
What is
eye
your
examination.
role?
That is the standard. To
Yeah,
have an annual eye examination. And then, if you have eye conditions,
Please, may we-
after diagnosis, then,
Everybody
you need to have
Everybody,
eye
everybody,
examination
hey, who will
more
take care of the
frequently.
children? Who will take care of
For
the
children,
Who will take care of the
No,
children?
we're gonna
standard
have
is
a
18
body.
months.
Why you have with our she go fit us go talk say
Examine.
make they
And
send
then,
am at least make they
there
make she
are
take care of
basic
it.
things we can do at home. Because we have understood that
You don't call the wife
80%
and I
of
say
eye problems
make
are avoidable.
okay put back to those students make I pay their school fees up.
And
That
that
money why I
depends on
am
behavior, it depends on what we
Man only
do.
go see make
For
that one
example,
correct one.
people are still using
Okay,
for
about
eye education
Is it?
for some problems.
You
and
know,
complicated eye conditions. There's some work.
Oh, why not? They NYC.
Somebody has
No,
glaucoma
that's
and
fine.
Oh, they not want to talk.
that will work.
Can
No,
you-
the make the ball
And
ahead.
then of course we have.
It might not necessarily be from his own pocket,
to avoid-
but he can engineer it.
The
You understand? It might not necessarily be from his pocket.
I see the school can
Eh?
watch your computer
Yes.
for-
Give mandates. See, oh yeah, see, measures and something. From
Hide your
PTA box.
eyes
They have a
for
lot.
another,
Yeah, those are-
2 seconds and of course take a break.
No pause.
So these are some of the things.
Every school they
we can
offer
do.
scholarship.
I offer exactly. I see one thing they have the scholarship for the whole primary school.
School,
Eh?
private school,
Private
they
school,
always
they are
give
good, yeah.
But we have documentation from the National Eye They're unfortunate. Thank you, Dr. Chimeze Anderson, the President of Nigerian Optometric Association. Thank you for those insightful views that was brought on the show. And that's all we have time for
This
here
woman
on
will
Daybreak.
widow.
It's goodbye from me, Deja Asho.
Ndị ọzọ ka na-eje n'ọma Ikodia.
That's right, I'm by Mutiniri Ekweyong, always
Onye
fantastic
yi
to start the day
eme.
with you. Morning show is up next. Goodbye from us.
Maka ịma na-akọmple na-asị ya ibu widow. Na o mere onye ọzọ maka na ọ bụ widow. Di gị na-arụ ọrụ na-eme maka na enweta ego. Ihe ọ na-emere gị fa. Ihe anyị na-ekwu. Ihe kwa ha maka ka a na-akpọ onye ọbụla na-arị ndara aka n'afọ. When you continue to bless that person, you know you may people are not blessed. That's all.
See, I don't think I might drive an possibly I might have been one of the reasons why he even had to go through that stress. Because anything what they push, like you have all na one together, no gap or like you have to this man. I don't know how to that.
Of today, tomorrow,
Now your oga for
and thereafter.
you see na ya one for the leader.
Maybe you have another school.
How force for work I was.
Okay, well,
Because the work of now the funny enough the second person, one elderly person, man, that elderly person now one. Who may do surgery the last 2 years. The last 3 days. So I'm thinking that one everybody come out that he was scared that one was
Determination, discipline, and consistency. He has inspired millions. When I see the proof that their dreams are valid and achievable.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
You inspired me too. You ignited our hope, and we will continue to encourage you, encourage the next generation and other generations after. The dedication, thank you for your passion, and thank you for reminding us of the strength of the Nigerian spirit. Crucial time, crucial future. With this, Nigeria belongs to all of you, all of us. Our diversity is an asset if we know how to use it for our prosperity. Born of the same father, in the same house, except living in different rooms. We must promote unity, stability, and economic justice for every one of us. Nigerian spirit is unyielding. And will never die. God bless you.
Vision Agency. The Imo State government most cordially invites Imo State stakeholders and the general public to the unveiling of My Imo app and the graduation ceremony of 10,000 youth trained and equipped under the Code 3 Skill Up Emo project. My Emo Art is a one-stop platform designed to connect Emo people at home and abroad to development in the state and enable them to be part of the government's process. The making of history and the fulfillment of a promise by the visionary government of distinguished Senator Professor C.O.M.
Last day, you need to do heavy now. For my head, it's a toilet too easy. That how many days now you not give it toilet. Yeah, you might move it. The way you call the one man, the people not for you. Your uncle not one yeah, I know why. They are the one of the secretary.
Signed.
With the only video, I wonder what is the other one. 3 days, you toilet, don't forget having. Yeah, the other one. Now, but also get a movie with the more. Yeah, it's not right. Okay, it's air quality here. What you want, then I need to do. Let you call now. Yes, you need this strong food. Yeah, correct.
The world's standout news channel. Arise News, awards, and beyond.
Feel the pulse of the planet. From New York to Nairobi, London to Lagos. Our world is connected. Our stories intertwined. Join us as we navigate the news that shapes our lives. News through the voices that live it, the experts that make sense of it, and the leaders that shape it. Our network of correspondents around the world ensure that you don't miss a thing. Trust us to bring you unfiltered news, deep dives, and powerful conversations. The world never stops, and neither do we. Every second counts, and every story matters. Give us 60 minutes, and we'll give you the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I know this is you. When you're going to yeah. Oh.
Coming soon to over 500 million smartphone users and 1.5 billion voices. Leke, the social platform for the world, out of Africa. By the founders of Arise and This Day Media Group, we're going to be launching with a big bang. A new homegrown social platform born in Africa and built for the world, blending community, culture, and cutting-edge AI. It's fast, culturally rooted, data-friendly, and designed to scale globally. A digital platform for youth, creators, and business. A one-stop shop to connect, share, create, and earn. It's time to end social media imperialism. This is Leke, a voice for all.
Out there, you are watching The Morning Show here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati.
Good morning, I'm Ayo Myra.
Unfortunately, we've got a great show lineup for you for the next sit back and let's get Saturday. The morning show begins right now.
upgraded Nigeria's economic growth forecast for 2025 to 4.2%, reflecting a 0.6 percentage point increase from its previous projection. The outlook upgrade was buoyed by improved macroeconomic stability, stronger service sector performance, and the impact of recent structural reforms. The World Bank has also acknowledged important steps taken by Nigeria towards stabilizing its economy through recent policy reforms that underscore the need to ensure the gains trickle down to better living conditions for its citizens. However, he pointed to persistent challenges such as high food inflation, widespread poverty, and structural barriers that sustain or constrain inclusive growth. Joining us later on this show to discuss the latest growth outlook by the World Bank, what it means for the economy, is Professor Adi Bongo, a professor of economics. He will also discuss the concern raised by the World Bank that despite Nigeria's recent economic reforms and early signs of macroeconomic stability, about 139 million Nigerians are now living in poverty, the highest figure in the nation's history.
Also, we shall be engaging Oyemi Emmanuel, a lawyer and co-founder, managing partner of Circle LLP. He'll be discussing the Central Gaming Bill, which was passed for consideration on Tuesday when the Senate resumed plenary. Last on our guest list is Amaju Pinnick, Deputy Chairperson of FIFA Men's National Teams Competitions Committee. We will be discussing his latest appointment, and he will also touch briefly on the deduction of 3 points by FIFA and the importance of Friday's crucial World Cup qualifiers.
Most of our news looking headlines across the globe. And if I brings us updates on the foreign scene and Wall Street. We review today's newspaper headlines across the globe. Roadshow Diri gives an update on global business outlook. Aaron Akirji will be taking us through sporting activities across the globe, while Archie will fill us in on what's trending around the world and highlight impactful stories on our milestones and our good news reports. It's going to be all of that and a whole lot more today on The Morning Show.
It's still the morning show here on the Rise News, and now we take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, has said that the federal government plans to refinance an expensive debt portfolio as part of a broader strategy to reduce debt servicing costs, enhance fiscal sustainability, and create more room for productive investment. He explained that the move was necessary in light of the sharp increase in debt servicing obligations in recent years. Edun spoke in Abuja at the opening of the 55th Annual Accountants Conference with the theme Building Resilience, Aligning Reforms for Nigeria's Development. Edun said the new system aimed to track every payment and ensure all transactions remain visible, accountable, and traceable. The minister said Treasury bill rates surged from 8% in 2023 to nearly 24%, while external debt service costs almost tripled from a budgeted 2.7 trillion naira to 6.7 trillion naira in 2024. Edun reported that Nigeria's fiscal position has improved significantly over the past 2 years, with federal revenue growing by over 70% in nominal terms, an outcome he attributed to key reforms under President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, including FX and fuel market liberalization and automation of revenue collection systems. He emphasized the government's commitment to raising Nigeria's infrastructure stock from below 40% of GDP toward the global benchmark of 75%, while mobilizing domestic resources through innovative financing and formalization of the informal sector. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu yesterday commissioned the $400 million Green Energy International Limited crude oil export terminal in Otakipo, River State, the first by any Nigerian company and the only one built in the country in over 50 years. The president said that the project represented a new chapter in Nigeria's oil and gas industry and aligned directly with the core priorities of his administration to ramp up crude oil production by enabling a secure, transparent, and efficient evacuation system. Represented by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Senator Heineken Lukubiri, Tinubu stressed that the project was also a shining example of his government's expectation of current licensees. He noted that having provided what he described as global competitive fiscals and incentives, his expectation and hopes were that they will put fields to work to meet set deadlines. The Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, Dr. Abubakar Dantoso Soho, has said President Bola Tinubu has given the go-ahead for work to commence on the $1 billion total reconstruction of the Apapa, Tinkan Island, Calabar, Warri, and Port Harcourt ports, stressing that the job will be delivered within 48 months. Dan Soho stated this during a chat with newsmen on the sidelines of the ongoing World Ports Conference of the International Association of Ports and Harbors, tagged Reinvention and Prosperity in Turbulent Times in Kobe, Japan. Dan Soho said rehabilitation works are expected to commence in the first quarter of 2026, following extensive engineering, environmental, and design studies. He said the port construction was part of the federal government's plan to modernize Nigeria's seaport infrastructure, attract foreign investment, and reposition the maritime sector for competitiveness in the global logistics chain. He stated that investors in the maritime space are pushing to invest in Nigeria following Tinubu's economic policies. While applauding the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, for his drive and support, he said the government sees the maritime sector as a key driver of its $1 trillion economy ambition. The Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and senior lawyers yesterday urged the federal government to launch a thorough investigation into allegations of certificate forgery against the erstwhile Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Naji, insisting that his resignation should not end the matter. Leading the call for the investigation and possible prosecution, President of NBA, Afam Osigwe SAN, described the allegations as grave and urged law enforcement agencies to act without delay. He stressed the importance of a transparent process, saying they raised grave allegations against him and he presented forged certificates to make the president believe that he's a person who has a university degree and is qualified to be given such an employment. The NBA president also dismissed suggestions that the federal government should be praised for accepting Naji's resignation. Also, the former vice president questioned why the former governor of Kaduna State, Malam El Rufai, will be disqualified by the DSS for security reasons, and Naji, who forged his academic certificate, would pass the scrutiny of the DSS. Atiku, in a statement he personally signed, noted that the development has once again brought to light the deep moral crisis at the heart of the Tinubu administration. Right, a number of stories to get through this morning to hopefully detail, analyze this morning. Rufai, I'll start with you from the ports to Naji again in the news. I don't think you'll be going away anytime soon.
Okay, so a couple of things. President Tinubu's administration has called some wins in some areas. They've been able to ramp up revenue, which is good. They've been able to increase growth projections from the very lackluster path President Buhari had growth. We're turning the tide on inflation and all of that. Yes, this is me openly saying this has happened. But I just hope that this administration does not make that fallacy that when people now say things they have not done, they dismiss it, because that's what I see them do every time. I concede to this administration that they made more in revenue. I concede that yes, despite the rebasing, inflation is coming down. But I would also like to state empirically that poor people have increased in the country. The World Bank said from 115 to 139 million now. The question is, why is it so difficult for this administration to accept that? They accept the World Bank growth projection for 4.2%. That's welcome. Applause equally for the World Bank. They accept the applause of the reforms from the World Bank. Poverty numbers have increased. Then Mr. Sunday Dare writes a message and say, the World Bank cannot say that the benchmark is correct because their benchmarking is against the $2 per day, and it starts to write on the narrative. We should have a government that takes in criticism. That's just my part in all of this. These policies have also put a lot of people in poverty. There is no way in the world that when you devalue, people's life will not become worse off. So when the World Bank says your devaluation has also brought people in poverty, I think it's best to take it in good faith, rather than now second-guessing the same World Bank. You celebrated their commendation a minute ago. Now you are telling the same World Bank that they don't know what they're saying. But when they increase your growth projection, they know what they're saying there. But when they say the same policies that they celebrate put a lot of people in poverty, no, they don't know what they're saying. We cannot run our lives on pick and choose. We cannot keep playing the game of Teddy Picker with governments. Pretty much reminds me of the Arctic Monkeys, a British rock band. Government is not Teddy Picker. When it favors you, it favors you. When it doesn't favor you, it's best you take the lemon. This is not a game of Teddy Picker. My second point, it goes back to the talk about the NAGI. And commendations to the government, by the way, on all those giant strikes in the oil and gas sector, the project Ainiki Liquibrim, we went to launch and all of that. It goes back to the case of NAGI. In this same government, it's obvious that a game of Teddy Picker was played with the ministerial positions. NAGI went through the cracks. They never found anything wrong with him. The DSS never found anything wrong with him. They passed through the system. But Nasil El-Rufai was found out for security challenges. So you see that the DSS then, anyway, but I'm not sure that happened. I'm not sure the current head of the DSS was there. And I'm making a strong case for him because he has done well consistently. And when he has not done well, I'll say it. So is it that the DSS then could not detect forgery, could not detect skewed narratives in the certificates, and they allowed the NAGI pass, but all of a sudden they were so quick to detect everything in El-Rufai? And secondly, I know the case is in court already, but who is now going to institute the case for forgery? And that's a very grievous offense. And that's it. Because as with the case, and I'll tell you why, Ayo, that Atiku Abubakar said it. Because when this happened in the past, the case that was taken to court for determination was about, was she eligible to be minister? I'm talking about the Kemi Adeosun. Forgery was not considered. So in this case, somebody should be able to take the case of forgery to court and take him up on this. And if they have the fact, let the court judge. We should not just say, oh, he's paid the supreme price. Because as at the night he resigned, some of the people in his camp were still defending him, hurting on television. Let's not play a game of Teddy Picker.
All right. Okay, quite a number of stories. If I can run through them very quickly. As for the minister that resigned, Geoffrey Uche-Naji, I think that's his name, the minister in charge of innovation, science, and technology, who, the civil society, the media, argued was having found being very creative with innovation with regard to his own academic qualifications. And now you have civil society saying, look, it's not enough. And this includes the Nigerian Bar Association. Afam Osigwe SAN has said, no, this is not something that we should be swept under the carpet. However, Afam Osigwe SAN made the point that, look, there should be proper investigation. And the proper body to do that is the police. Let them, in fact, first of all, establish a case against them. To wit, did he attend University of Nigeria, Nsukka? Did he go back to write the receipt exam that he was supposed to write? Did he pass or fail it? Did he collect a certificate? Now, University of Nigeria and Nsukka were saying yesterday, has behaved in this manner, in a very embarrassing manner. The same university cannot be talking from one side, issue a letter December 31, and then come in 2025 and say it is not the case, and then the vice chancellor will say, oh, I didn't say this, I didn't say that. Look, this is supposed to be a very serious university, the premier indigenous university. That should be part of it. However, in former Minister Naji's case, some of the investigations will have to determine whether indeed it was a grabbing. But the issue that concerns whoever is investigating, the police in this case, as has been recommended, is that did he commit perjury? Did he commit forgery? Those are serious offenses under the law. And the people are saying that the matter should not be swept under the carpet. That is their concern. That we are having too many cases with certificates in this country. Whether it's about Chicago or it is about Toronto, they call it Toronto. I hear people, we call it in our village, Toronto. When I speak to people in Canada, they say Toronto. Anyway, that's a side thing. So the thing is, the integrity of people who lead us. Yeah. And I've made the point here that you don't need a degree to be president of Nigeria. We have had people here, leading Nigeria, who did not even have the primary school certificate. They had to go and conjure it up. But within the Constitution, Section 138, if you can speak English, you can lead all of us, over 200 million of us. And that's why, the more educated you are, the more shabbily you are treated by people, in this country. But it doesn't matter. You can have people who do not have degrees and who are well placed. After all, Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of school. It is not lying about it, and so many other persons like that. What is the degree of the man in charge of Berkshire Hathaway? And he's doing very well. What is the qualification of Sam Altman? The thing is that people should not lie. And that's why, there are issues about perjury and forgery. But there should be proper investigation, and there should be, a proper establishment of the fact about whether the man himself resigned or he was pushed. So was he pushed or did he jump? But whatever it is, there must be a lesson here for all the people in Nigeria who claim to be what they are not when they go into politics. Please, the simple point is that in the Constitution of Nigeria, you don't need a degree to be anything in this country. The Constitution itself allows you to be a complete illiterate. But if you can speak English, if you attended one course, even if it is organized, a training course, and they give you one certificate, you are fine. But you will have the people of Nigeria to deal with in terms of how you govern them or you lead them. So leadership recruitment process, in my view, should be the major focus area. As for former Minister Naji, yes, the police can do their work, but this is Nigeria. If you push it further, they will say, Roy has resigned. People should leave him alone. It is a youthful exuberance that caused this. Do you even know whether he passed the receipt and one man from another ethnic group was victimizing him? But whatever it is, it's just about the key thing for me, about lessons to be learned. Very quickly, Minister Edun made all the right statements about debt servicing, about generating revenue, about ensuring that Nigeria meets its obligations. All those are very clean, professional things to say. However, I think there should be emphasis on productivity in this economy. Who, like the coordinating minister of the economy and the other persons involved in that law, to focus on productivity. This economy is not productive enough. Nigeria is a very gifted country. We have the people, we have the resources, we have everything. Can the administration ensure that there is a more, more attention is paid to productivity. If there is productivity, which is something that Mr. Peter Obi talks about all the time, when he says borrowing is not the problem, but what do you do with the borrowing? How productive is this economy? That's the message for Mr. Wale. But all the things he said, you cannot fault it. Now, let them take along with that the statement by the World Bank yesterday under the Nigerian Development Update, NDU. Now, the World Bank, I've always said, whether it's the World Bank or IMF, these are diplomatic institutions. They will praise you to high heavens, but they will find a way of also drawing your attention to your problems. And that was why the World Bank was saying, yes, strong fiscal reform, you know, the government is doing well with regard to reform. We have had that again and again. But again, in that Nigeria Development Update, they made a number of points about rising food inflation. They made a point about fiscal transparency and accountability, that the Tinubu government needs to pay attention to that. They also made the point about the need for social protection. What do they call it again? Conditional cash transfer, just to make sure that the people of Nigeria are well treated and they are placed in a good place. So they repeated the same critical points that they have always made. That is what Minister Ebu should pay attention to. FTSE Russell, I think there's a good call like that, a rating agency, says that in fact they are considering the reclassification of Nigeria, you know, from an unclassified market to a frontier market. In other words, you know, you find all these rating agencies, international agencies, recognizing that, okay, something is changing for good in Nigeria. But they are also saying, look, these are gray areas that we have to pay attention to. I would like, you know, government to talk more about that. How you and I can, you know, enjoy this country better. Okay, you are still young. I'm growing old. So that when I become a grandfather, I will say, oh, a proper foundation was made for my old age. Now, as for the export terminal, we're told that this is the first time in 50 years that Nigeria is having its indigenous export terminal in a place called, is it Otafiko in Rivers State. I think that's good news. We congratulate the government. We congratulate all the persons involved. Then we congratulate also particularly Professor Anthony Adebulugbe.
There's no way you will be able to intelligently answer certain questions. And that's why beyond just asking, you know, surface level questions to ministers, we ask for a rigorous and complete, you know, interrogation into their skills and competencies when they come before the Senate. So a chain of people who we need to question as to why this fell through the cracks. How come this happened and we didn't realize that? So beyond the DSS not being able to trace or identify the fact that his certificates were not accurate, if finally proven, then there needs to be a lot of questions around that. We do not want to see a repeat of this. So
that in Nigerian law, forgery
is a serious crime. The FEC, the Federal Executive Council, starting with the president.
Because they don't begin bring out lots of evidence. They all NYC certificate of all the people that start niggas example of people who right do NYC at that age, at that year when he's not.
And that's why when
the certificate is not the same.
Scandal the other day, we cannot talk
about why is his own the only peculiar one.
Cheating in examinations when the people who are in the
you've got what to punish
that is why you see the people who are not qualified hold positions. It also makes me remember the fact that we're supposed to have a scorecard for each of the ministers and a review of their performance, and this will then determine whether or not they continue as ministers. I recall that Madam Hadiza Bala Usman is in charge of that, coordinating office. What's happening with that? Do we have a record of how the ministers have performed? Because surely, if we have someone who did not even understand the subject in the office, aside from whether or not, maybe he was listening to his technical team, it should have shown that this man does not have the requisite qualifications to lead this ministry. I think it's important for Nigeria and for posterity's sake to actually find out and get to the bottom of this matter. And this is why we we continue to push for an investigation. Yes, I recall that Mr. Buhari, Salisu Buhari, the Toronto saga. Toronto. In 1999, did resign, but he was still prosecuted. He was still found guilty, sentenced 2 years with the option of fine. He took the fine option and was later pardoned. At least we understand it, even though later he was given an appointment, but that's a story for another day. Because we need to understand how things are run. So let me move away from that. Still talking about the way our country is run. I think Mr. Jones' speech yesterday at the ICON conference was well in order. He talked about the introduction of the federal billing system, and this is also a part of government's efforts to track payments and services, payments for goods and services in the system. In fact, he said a lot of money, government money, is outside the CBN, and part of what we're trying to do is to ensure that invoices, the e-invoices with the tax office aligns, and we're able to hopefully mop up monies that are paid but are not used for what they are paid for, or invoices are properly taxed that comes back into the system happens. And when we hear things like that, it's a good move and a good direction in terms of transparency and accountability for Nigerians, especially with the resources and revenues that have come. He also made a salient point that that the allocations based on the increased revenue, allocations made to state governments have increased by 111%. We keep asking on this table, we need to dig deeper into our state, state governments and local governments. Since we've been talking about better revenue, the boom in this administration, how state governors are getting more allocation, what are they using the monies for? There are some states that you cannot see any improvement in the area of improvement, infrastructure, what the governors are doing with the money. We need to take, yes, we're focusing on the federal, but we also need to take a closer look at the state governments and the local governments and how money that is being allocated to them is being spent. In the interest of transparency, I think it's important that we hold our state governors to more accountable. What are they doing with education? What are they doing with, with the civil service? What are they doing with healthcare, primary healthcare especially? These are some of the things that we need to, probe even deeper when it comes to administration and governance. But I believe
just before you go,
yes.
Nigerians have started.
What did they say?
Some of them are saying Nigerians should not be prosecuted, whether it's called perjury or forgery. Because after all, Kemi Adeosun, who also had a certificate issue, nobody prosecuted her. She's Yoruba. Why do you want to prosecute an Yoruba?
So because, but I cited the example of Salisu Buhari. So because one administration failed to do their duty, we should not use that as a yardstick.
I'm not saying this is Nigeria, because people are saying, what are you people saying? Now it's the turn of an Igbo man. You are saying he should be prosecuted.
It's not by, okay, let us prove all the certificates of SPC members and anyone who is
of everybody.
Yes, anyone who is found guilty should be prosecuted.
So you said all of everything, not all of everything.
Why?
All people
Why? It's time now for a short break on the morning show.
Just don't claim what you don't have.
Exactly, same. I'm prosecuted for one brief. When we return, we'll have a different actress and join us for one brief and complete top stories in today's newspaper. Stay with us.
Are you struggling with a health challenge? Do you need financial help to access treatment?
I've started on trying. I need help. I want to try again. I know it's expensive.
Apply now for MHSS, the Maternal Health Service Support, a discounted loan by the W initiative of Access Bank. For more information, visit our website on www.vwcommunity.com or any Access Bank branch nationwide. You can also send an email to wcares@accessbankplc.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Feel free to imagine a world without boundaries. Just you
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
To McCall, there were people within the camp that were displaced inside the camp.
At that distribution, we have over 1,200 packs distributed in that location, and they were very happy.
For us to feed is another problem. Fidelity Bank itself came here, they supported us with food here.
The branch manager of Fidelity Bank in Benue State spoke about the Fidelity Food Bank initiative.
Fidelity Food Bank project is a novel initiative of the managing director of the bank, Dr. Mrs. Nneka Onyaliekpe.
Fidelity Bank will pray that God Almighty will bless you.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
In a nation of over 200 million, where 60% are under 25,
millions of brilliant young minds are locked out of the new economy for lack of digital tools.
Zynex Technologies, in partnership with Conga Cares, has launched a convenient installment payment structure with 6 months interest-free.
We invite government at all levels, corporates, alumni, politicians, and wealthy Nigerians
to support our educational institutions to produce quality human capital by donating tech experience centers
powered by 24-hour iPower alternative power solution with internet.
Let's computerize Nigeria.
To find out more,
visit congacares.conga.com.
Progress in the happen just like that. It comes from support when you need help.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Now, money point to
Money points, thank you.
customer. Now, transfer, Abi, confirm.
Rona transfer.
Now only point to that. Oh, la confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment will land as your banker. Progress na small way when the carry person go far. No worries, I go make am. Move by there.
Even you, they use money point.
Of course now, they use money points.
Confirm.
Money point made for your progress.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsoya. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Ray. How are we doing?
I'm good.
Good morning, Rufai.
Morning.
Good morning, Aya.
Good morning.
All right, so good morning to you viewers. Let me tell you what is happening around the world. Now, it was Benjamin Franklin. You remember who Benjamin Franklin was? He said that there is no such thing as bad peace or good war. That's what came to mind when US President Donald Trump announced that Israel and Hamas have agreed on the first phase of a ceasefire deal, marking what he calls a major breakthrough in negotiations which have been mediated by Egypt and Qatar. Now, there have been celebrations in Israel and in Gaza. Following the news, the initial stage reportedly includes a pause in fighting, which has caused the celebrations definitely in Gaza, and the release of 20 Israeli hostages and some 200 Palestinian prisoners as early as Monday, though details remain under wraps going forward. It is still believed that Israeli troops will withdraw, but still remain in Gaza. Talks continue in Cairo as diplomats push for a longer-term truce, the dismantling of Hamas in government, and expanded humanitarian access into Gaza. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had this to say on X. He said, with the approval of the first phase of the plan, all of our hostages will be brought home. This is a diplomatic success and a national and moral victory for the state of Israel. From the beginning, I made it clear we will not rest until all our hostages return and all our goals are achieved through steadfast resolve, powerful military action, and the great efforts of our great friend and ally, President Trump. We have reached this critical turning point. I thank President Trump for his leadership, his partnership, and his unwavering commitment to the safety of Israel and the freedom of their hostages. So clearly, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is staunchly behind Donald Trump's efforts. Let's move on home to Nigeria, though. We first came across this story during Wednesday's newspaper review, and essentially what's happening is the Nigerian Senate is proposing a 10-year ban from getting an international Nigerian passport after committing a crime abroad and being deported from abroad. Now, this Passport Act amendment bill is sponsored by Niger North Senator Sani Bello, who says it will improve Nigeria's global image and address international stigma, which has led to increased visa restrictions. Now, if you take a look at this picture here, it's a picture posted on X by Interpol. Now, Interpol, the international police organization, released this image of a Nigerian man named Ikechukwu, who was captured in Argentina, where he's been accused of orchestrating thousands of romance scams. Now, it is believed that cases like this would result in this proposed passport ban. So, as a test case, for example, should this ban become law, this is a type of case that would see this ban come into place. Now, we did ask Nigerians here in Lagos how they feel about this proposal. Their views were mixed. Let's take a listen.
It's reasonable, really. It gives them an opportunity to come back home and think about the reputation of the country and the impression that they give foreigners about who we are and what we do.
The years are too much. Them being bounded with our passport bounded with our transport, traveling outside for 10 years is too much. But I think they should just limit the year.
As a matter of fact, it's helping us protect our national sovereignty because when we go outside there, several countries have, the UAE just lifted the ban, I believe, all right, from on Nigerians. And that is because of several vices that we find Nigerians in diaspora engaging themselves in. So this is very important. I think it's a welcome development. If you have to face a 10-year ban because you were convicted of a crime, yes, I mean, why not?
Nigeria has this very notorious reputation abroad, so if that is going to at least keep you at home for long enough, it will give you something to think about before you go out and do it again. So
crime is crime. It's against humanity. So you use our name, Nigeria, to commit something over there. We wait for you to come back and get another punishment.
It's going to protect Nigeria's image if they can play that kind of a law. If I knew that I don't have anything I want to go and do outside Nigeria, you can say that, okay, if I do this, yes, I will still remain in the country. But if you know that, maybe you have something, you have a family, you normally travel out, you understand, you know that you have to be very careful, you understand me, of every action you want to take.
We're definitely understanding him. Now, definitely mixed reactions there. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on whether this will happen. But before we do that, let's move on to newspaper headlines. Today, as ever, we begin with the front page of This Day. Now, This Day does lead with, of course, the Nigerian Bar Association, the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and several other senior lawyers, calling for the prosecution of former Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Nnaji, over this alleged certificate forgery. Now, reports claim that Nnaji presented fake academic and NYSC documents during his screening back in 2023. He has since resigned from office, as we have been reporting, but pressure does mount for his prosecution. Let's take a look at the New Telegraph this morning. The New Telegraph does weigh in on a different story. We are hearing about reps the House of Representatives rejecting U.S. claims of Christian genocide in Nigeria. This is also a story that's been bubbling a lot of steam. It says that, the nation's violence is not religiously motivated, but driven by insecurity and criminality. Now, lawmakers have called for dialogue to correct this misrepresentation of Nigeria and what is happening in our country outside. Take a look at the Daily Independent this morning. The Daily Independent does report on businesses around Lagos being on edge because of plans to tear down the old Murtala Mohammed International Airport terminal. Essentially, businesses are concerned that the disruption would cause higher costs and a loss of income. Now, the Federal Airports Authority said that it is part of a full overhaul to modernize the terminal. So we'll see how that affects businesses in Lagos. To the Daily Sun this morning, and the Daily Sun does report on Enugu State Governor Peter Mba urging entrepreneurs to build lasting institutions beyond personality-driven ventures. He also pledged a business-friendly environment in the state and support for SMEs to ensure long-term growth. Now, also on the front page of the Daily Sun, we are seeing conversations about insecurity. That the Nigerian Senate has called on the federal government to establish a permanent military base in Kwara State to tackle the escalating insecurity, including kidnappings, bandit attacks, and community displacement that we are seeing in southwest Nigeria. So we'll see if that materializes into a base. Let's move on to the Leadership newspaper. The Leadership this morning does have the Federal High Court in Abuja again adjourning the trial of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB Nnamdi Kanu, so this is essentially been adjourned to October 16th. 2025. The adjournment followed the inability of the Nigerian Medical Association panel to conclude its report on Kanu's health condition. The court also directed the panel to submit its finding before the next sitting, while Kanu's legal team renewed calls for his release on medical grounds. So that's what we're seeing on the Leadership. Let's move on to the Punch. The Punch has the Nigerian presidency rejecting the World Bank's claim that 139 million Nigerians live in poverty, calling the figure exaggerating and arguing that it fails to report local accuracies. Now, The Guardian this morning does wade into economics as well. Despite economic reforms over recent years, Nigerians say the promises of relief for the poor are yet to materialize as stability may be achieved, but living conditions for many Nigerians do still remain unchanged. Still on the front page, we do have the Federal High Court in Osun State ordering the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetoku, to arrest the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, for contempt of court following his failure to comply with an earlier ruling recognizing state chairman elected under Adekunle Rufai Omoaje-led NEC of the Action Alliance. That was an mouthful, wasn't it? Finally, let's go on to a UK paper. The Daily Express, yes, Kemi Badenoch delivered her speech at the Conservative Party event yesterday, and she has pledged to scrap stamp duty on main home purchases if the Conservatives return to power. It's like she was listening to what Rufai said yesterday, that she doesn't have any ideas. This is what she's talking about. This is what has been blazed across different UK papers. So essentially, she's saying that it's a bad tax, stamp duty. Says it's a bad tax that punishes aspiration. And she has unveiled her key election pledge at the Tory Party conference. The Conservative leader said that the move would make it easier for families to buy home and boost the housing market. Treasury officials estimate that the plan could cost about £9 billion a year, but Badenoch insists that it will be funded through savings and also through economic growth. Well, let's see the growth. Those are your brief stories and your newspapers. Love to hear your thoughts.
All right, so that's the same politics that Liz Truss employed, and they were trying to cut everything where they were going to get money from. That put them in the cul-de-sac they're in today. Don't mind Femi. If you want to have, I said don't mind Femi, Kenny. If you want to have a rounded view, I will mind Femi. I mean, if you want to have a rounded view of what is going on, just go listen to James O'Brien of LBC break down as she was talking live and he was critiquing everything she was saying. Secondly, see, as regards this plan to ban people, aren't we hypocritical in this country that commit crimes? But this is the same country that we saw Ashwebi for terrorists. This is the same country that political officers forge positions and they still get political office. There's forgery everywhere. This is the same office that, after a case of determination of forgery many years ago, people still go ahead to do the highest position in this country. But we don't need people like that in the board. It's innocent Nigerians that must have been framed abroad. Because not everybody that commits a crime, people might be framed actually. and you don't give them a chance of recompense, and you say because you want to showboat, you say ban everybody. Because even if they want to make that law, I think what they should do is that they should limit it to political office holders' crime. Let's start with the politicians. As regards Israel, Hamas, and Gaza, it pretty much reminds me of the joke and the hypocrisy that Israel has always been doing. You just want your own hostages released to you so that you can go back in there and bomb them. Pretty much reminds me of what happened in the Congress of Vienna in 1814, how it led to so many wars. Pretty much what happened in Oslo talks, Oslo 1 and Oslo 2, in 1994, where the likes of some people won Nobel Prize for it. Trump wants to win his Nobel Prize. He can quickly win it now, but is it going to solve the problem? After Oslo 1 and Oslo 2 agreement, what did they agree? Israel was going to leave more land for the Palestinians. Did they do it? Have they not encroached on most of those lands in areas like the West Bank? So Israel is not truthful. The Netanyahu government, let me qualify that one. I'm not going to say Israel is not true because they are good Jewish people. I keep repeating that. The Netanyahu government is not truthful because we had Israeli government, people like Yitzhak Rabin, that were truthful when we had Oslo 1 and Oslo 2, but he was killed.
All right, okay, so to the issue around passports. Yes, I understand that because as a deterrent to Nigerians who live abroad, commit crimes, and so coming back home, when you know that is double punishment, as it were, then you would fix up, look sharp if you're living abroad. I do think it should be extended, very importantly, to those who are, to political office holders, especially who commit crime, even back home here in Nigeria. You know how it is where visas are used as, are used to almost punish corrupt politicians in countries by the US or the United Kingdom, for instance. Maybe we should introduce that if you're found culpable of a crime or convicted back home, then you would have restrictions as well to go abroad. Because since the UK and going to Western countries or traveling seems to be such an attractive part of living in Nigeria, then maybe we should now use it as further punishment for people. But I do think 10 years is quite steep. If you've served time abroad, then why come home and still be punished further for a crime that you served already abroad? It's a lot. It's steeper. Let's face internal issues and punish those issues first as a step that we want to really deal with infractions like that. Now, move on to the front page of the Punch newspaper, where the federal government, as we expect, have come out to say that the World Bank is not facing local realities by saying that, and the numbers are not accurate. 139 million Nigerians living in poverty. The first thing I'll say is that I think it's high time we had a national population census. It's high time, from the last administration, it was postponed and it couldn't happen. So we can even have a true picture of the number of people living in Nigeria. And then we can also give our own statistics compared to the World Bank and see whether or not, we can produce our own alternative to the figures that have been released. Beyond that, I think beyond just coming out to, counter statements like that, is to take on some salient points coming out from that report that the reforms are good, but it doesn't translate to better living conditions for Nigerians. And they gave options around, conditional cash transfer, talking about infrastructure, looking at transparency and fiscal discipline. Those are the things we would like, Nigerians would like to see, better than just coming out to say, oh, they are wrong. What is the true picture then? They can challenge facts with their own facts.
Okay, very good. On the passport ban, the extant law is the Passport Miscellaneous Provisions Act of 1985, which Senator Abubakar Bello, I think that's his name, from where now? Niger State, is proposing should be amended. So you have this bill 2024 saying that if a Nigerian has been convicted anywhere in any part of the world, that person will lose his Nigerian passport for an additional 10 years. Now, okay, they say the whole idea is to show that Nigeria is accountable. It's also to compel Nigerians in diaspora to respect Nigeria's image. The Nigerian green passport having become very notorious. And perhaps this would discourage Nigerians who are living abroad in diaspora from committing crimes and giving all of us a bad name. However, two issues. There's something in law called double jeopardy. A man is not expected to be punished twice for the same offense. So if a Nigerian commits a crime, for example, say in the UK, and he goes to jail, maybe for 10 years, for 3 years, even for 1 day, and then his own country now says, we will hold your passport, you cannot have a Nigerian passport for additional 10 years. On the surface of it, it looks like, oh, okay, we are trying to defend Nigeria's image, but it's a very illiterate thing to say, because it amounts to double jeopardy. So you cannot punish a man twice. And these lawmakers who are proposing these things, why don't they seek advice from people who even have an understanding of basic law for some of these gray areas to be pointed out to them? Because the second danger that you will now face will be an abuse of the fundamental human right of that person. The fact that he committed a crime abroad and he was jailed, he has served his time, does not mean his own country, where he did not commit the crime, will now further punish him. This is not, we're not running a Sunday school. We're running a country that is governed by law and frameworks. So I think it's not a very important piece of legislative proposal. You know, they let them worry about things. How to make this economy more productive, how to address more substantial issues in the land. Otherwise, what we will face if you pass that kind of legislation will be a deluge of litigations. People will go to court and say, no, they want to enforce their fundamental human rights. The man will say he has served his jail term in the United States. Why do you have to say he can no longer be a citizen of Nigeria for 10 years? No, including the criminals who serve time anywhere after they have done so, and those of us who don't even have the mind to commit a crime. We are all citizens, and Nigeria must carry its baggage. Now, quickly, as for the Middle East, Trump has been celebrating on Truth Social that, this is a very standard thing, strong, durable, everlasting peace that is in the works. Netanyahu is also happy that hostages will be released in a matter of days. The various guarantors of peace, Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, and officials from the affected, countries having met, having indirect talks in the last few days. Fine. Even Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, is also excited. He says that this is a pathway to peace. However, Hamas is saying that, look, the guarantors should ensure that Israel does not change its mind and that Israel respects the terms of the agreement. But in all of this, there's been no focus on disarmament of Hamas. There's been no focus yet on the future of the Gaza territory. However, what is clear now is about prisoner hostage exchange. Israel is looking forward to getting back out of the 48 persons, hostages remaining, 20 who are still alive. And Hamas is also saying, its own people should also be released, and Israel should stop further hostilities. If it happens that way, yes, to be a good development for world peace, and maybe President Trump, who is now being praised by all the parties, will get a step closer to the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize, that he is looking for.
Thank you so much, and it's always great to see you. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Rotu Sodiri to give us updates on global business activities. Stay with us.
Sunday morning talking about renewal and wrinkles.
Starting and growing a business can be tough,
Debit?
especially with insufficient funds.
This business is becoming too expensive. My children need to start feeding me.
Come on, these figures are not smart.
At Access Bank, we love SMEs, from business loans to flexible cost savings account. We've got the solutions to help your business thrive. With our Diamond Business Advantage account, you can easily access financial support, business tools for growth, business loans, and opportunities to meet and interact with other business owners. Dream big and elevate your business to the next level. To learn more, visit www.accessbankplc.com/business/SME-banking or walk into any of our branches to get started.
The age-long heritage of the people of Onitsha. A day where tradition comes alive, with Glow showcasing this royal heritage to the world. On October 17th and 18th, it begins with the emergence of the Ogidi in his majestic splendor. Every step is a declaration of renewed harmony as the drums thunder, flutes vibrate, and prayers of peace are offered by the Obi. This year's festival begins with a youth carnival and the evening with Glow, featuring performances from the finest Southeast music maestros, the Ofala Festival, and the Royal Banquet. This is more than a festival. It is a reaffirmation of identity. Glow celebrates with all sons and daughters of Onitsha and the entire Igbo land as we take Ofala Onitsha to the world stage.
Progress will be happen just like that. It comes from support when you need that.
Mommy, I got the school fees. It's too much.
Now, money point to
Money point, thank you.
customer. Now, transfer, Abi. Confirm.
Rona transfer.
Now, only point to that. Oh, la confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land as sure like that. Progress na small way when you carry person go far. No worries, I go make am. Move Bible.
Victor, they use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money point made for your progress.
Mom, you see? You taught me well. In today's world, we forget what truly connects us.
I need my family to come together.
Devon Kings, bringing families together, one bite at a time.
No phones at my table.
This reminds me of the good old days. Thank you for keeping to the family traditions.
Thank you, Mama.
Devon Kings, taste that binds.
All you need to ask yourself is that, where is everybody's money going?
It's important for you to find people that connect with you where you are now, but also complement your weaknesses.
Make sure that what you have can test anybody, anywhere. What inspired me to start my business, Hunger.
Banking prepared me for that. Showing up, waking up early, being dedicated.
The power is in us as people. We are the new oil.
The new media, don't be afraid of
What
it.
makes you stand out with differentiation?
This is going to be my footprint. I'm not going to be in any box.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now for global business updates, Rotus Udiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Bassi. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning to all our viewers. And good morning to Damilare and Maiwa. I hope I don't mess up. I think it's all Maiwa. I said Maiwa. Two young gentlemen, aged 10 and 11, that walked up to me in a restaurant yesterday and said, with such confidence and eloquence, Mr. Rotus, we watch you every morning on the morning show. I said, you watch business? He said, yes, our parents make sure we watch businesses. When I was 10 years old, I was watching cartoons. So shout out to your parents. And I was like incredibly humbled. So good morning to you too as well. Now, let's start with Argentina. Mr. Javier Milei is in some serious trouble ahead of October 26 midterm elections. What's the name of his party? Libertad Avanza, which means Liberty Advances, is his political party that suffered those losses in Buenos Aires. Now, since that time, markets have lost confidence in the ability of Argentina to be able to maintain the peso. The peso has been deteriorating since that time. Milei is so desperate to avoid a devaluation ahead of the midterm, which will play into the opposition, that they've sold, this is as of September, they sold about $1.1 billion of their reserves to try to defend the currency. But here's another thing they're doing. On the one hand, they're selling US dollars to try to prop up the peso. On the other hand, they are offering short-term interest rates, letra capitales or something, what's it called? They're LECAP rates, LECAP notes. They are short-term notes that are offered in order to drain liquidity that is peso liquidity from the market. When you drain liquidity from the market, you reduce the amount of pesos that are available in the market to go and bid for US dollars. Also, you are offering higher rates to people to hold pesos in order to incentivize them to keep it. Now, the flip side of that coin is that you're making borrowing more expensive, you are choking investment and so on and so forth. But look at this rate. This is pretty incredible. This is the short-term rates here. 37.3 is what they were in July 1st. We've charted them from August 1st, 1st of September, and they look at the 19th. They went all the way to 81.1%. As of yesterday, 86.9% is where those rates hit. Now, this has partially backfired on the Argentine government because the confidence in the peso has fallen to a level to where that investors are demanding ridiculously high rates in order to hold those pesos. So he's in some real issues here with respect to what's going on with peso. We'll have to see what happens. With Kristalina Georgieva, the IMF World Bank spring annual meetings begin next week. I think yesterday she said they're going to review the next round of talks with Argentina. Scott Bessent has said that they're going to give them a credit line. Well, other people are saying U.S. farmers whose soybeans are not being bought by China, they need a bailout. Meanwhile, you want to give Milei a $20 billion credit line. Either way, Argentina is in trouble. This takes me to Nigeria. The Naira closed at 1,470 to the dollar yesterday. So the Naira appreciation continues. Now, Rufai, you're talking about the farce or whether the exchange rate is this. Nobody cares about that. What people care about is stability, which is why the Argentina example is very, very pertinent at this point. There are light years between the Naira and the peso. While you also had FTSE Russell talking about the confidence in the currency and the transparency in Nigeria's foreign exchange market, which is why Nigeria is now on the watch list to be added back to the frontier list for FTSE Russell. Over in Argentina, you've got so it's like one day maybe I'll chart it on this wall to show you where the peso and the naira are going. So it is about stability. Whether the naira is trading at 1.5 or 1.4 or 1.3 or 1.1, people don't care. They just want to know that it is stable. I can plan accordingly. I can import accordingly, and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, the NGX just keeps going up. It just keeps going up. 41.58% as of yesterday. This is so far the gains on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Again, it's a similar story with respect to where the currency is, how that is impacting profits for businesses that are publicly traded in Nigeria. Again, talk to your financial advisor. Don't miss out on the rally. Find out your risk tolerance and then allocate your portfolio. In fact, we had a treasury bill auction yesterday. I didn't have enough time to get the table up. I'll put that on. But that treasury bill auction continues the narrative for the last sovereign bond auction for Nigeria, which had a high level of demand. It also follows through with the savings bond window that was opened as of yesterday or as of Monday. Same thing with the T-bill auctions. We'll get those numbers tomorrow. Let's get you can't get a good idea without talking about artificial intelligence. Warner Music Group, the president says that AI will boost the value of human artists. He was at a forum yesterday hosted by Bloomberg called Screen Time, and he essentially said, his name is Robert Kintel, he essentially said that the deluge of fake, or we can call it fake, or AI music will push people to seek more value from human artists. Warner shares did fall yesterday. So they are pointing 0.2 of a percentage point. 32.65 is where they closed in trading yesterday. But we included the question, which is something people have been asking about AI music, that was asked by the moderator, and take a listen to his answer.
And so you think that AI music, rather than replace, you think that AI will expand the pie rather than replacing some of what you already have? Because if people are choosing to listen to AI music, doesn't that mean they're not listening to Ed Sheeran, Bruno Mars, Cardi B?
So I'll tell you how we're putting our money where our mouth is. We believe that in the world of AI, musical, branded, big, recognizable music will become more valuable. There'll be a lot more music, and there'll be a lot more unrecognizable music, which will increase the noise and frustration and all of that. But we believe that music from big stars, recognizable music, so branded IP and music from stars, will actually be more valuable. We believe it so much that us and our partners at Bain Capital have put together $1.2 billion JV to buy copyrights just like that. So it's not just us believing it. We have really smart people on Wall Street who believe.
Have you guys been
All right, so just to buttress the point, that last part here, he says that they're putting their money where their mouth is in order to bet on human artists despite the flood of music from AI. So Warner Music and Bain Capital, everybody remembers Mitt Romney from the 2012 election with Barack Obama. That's his private equity company. They have a $1.2 billion joint venture that they put together to purchase copyrights in order to support artists. So and think about it, if you listen to music, would you want to listen to an AI artist, or do you want to have that established relationship with a human artist who you can follow on Instagram? They'll sign your merch when you go for their concerts. So that's what we'll see how things are going. We'll round off with Heijin AI. So this is a story on business productivity and artificial intelligence. We've talked about Sora 2 and how ChatGPT wants to embed every app you could possibly use in one platform. So whatever you want to do, OpenAI is saying that ChatGPT allows you to do it here. Now Sora went viral last week because people were using it to create images of Tupac Shakur and Kobe Bryant walking around in Cuba, Michael Jackson and Prince arguing over who had a bigger funeral. Heijin is saying that for advertising, they have now used, and we talked about APIs, right? Essentially, they have embedded Sora within their platform to allow advertisers to basically just submit a product, and the AI will design an ad campaign for you. Now, what that means for copywriters and people who strategize on ads, whether they'll still have jobs, that's another story. But this one, particularly on business productivity on Heijin, take a look.
This is Brandon from Heijin, and today we're super excited to announce our integration of Sora 2. We are one of 6 companies and platforms that OpenAI has granted access to the API, and we're excited to share it with you today. As I'm sure you saw over the weekend, Sora 2 videos are absolutely creative, mind-blowing, and amazing. But I bet you thought Sora 2 was only for fun and memes. But we at Heijin think Sora 2 can be super useful for business communications, especially with our Avatar 4 integration. So starting now, here are the 3 ways that you can use Sora 2 inside of Heijin. Number 1, product ads. It's super easy. Go to Heijin homepage, click over UGC ad video, upload your product image, and then hit generate. And after that, there's nothing else you need to do. Our AI model will take your product image and generate a storyline. Then add an avatar for as its narrator, and then create a UGC-style ad.
Meet Poppy Strawberry Lemon, a soda that's bright, bubbly, and only 5 grams of sugar. Refreshing strawberry meets zesty lemon in a can that's as good for your gut as it is for your taste buds.
That gentleman, just remember, he's not real. That ad you saw, all they did was upload the can of soft drink. Everything else was taken over by the AI. So it's something advertisers can look at. That's our updates for today.
Okay. No time. Okay. Oh, Argentina tomorrow. A lot.
Except that Argentina that you mentioned. Rotus is here worrying about his friend Yabi Meli. The man is a rock star at Movistar Arena. And he say, I'm human. Even if anything doesn't work, let's sing.
Doctor, but I thought it was people like Rotus that were saying, Aquara! Aquara!
Rotus, don't worry. You have escaped this morning. Otherwise, we have a lot to say. We'll take a short break now. And when we return, we'll be talking to Oyedi Emmanuel, a lawyer and co-founder and managing partner of Circle LLP. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Why do Nigerians succeed at everything they do?
It's the 65th independence of our beloved country. 65 years of trials and triumphs, of hope carried in the hearts of millions. Nigeria stands tall, united and unbroken. Today, Access is making history by creating the first ever human Nigerian map.
A friend of mine once told me that if you go to any part of the world and you do not find a Nigeria, leave that place, because there is nothing to do there.
Just like the Access Warrior slogan, as a nation we remain unbound, unbent and unbroken.
Your skin is your wealth and perception is reality. Upgrade to affordable luxury brands from the La Roche-Posay range and the CeraVe range. Download the Conga app and shop on conga.com, MedPlus, Bido Pharmacy, Net Pharmacy, and Alpha Pharmacy. Conga Health, a subsidiary of Conga Group, is the exclusive distributor of L'Oreal Dermatological Beauty, world's #1 dermatological beauty brand. Your skin is your wealth and perception is reality. Upgrade to affordable luxury brands from the La Roche-Posay range and the CeraVe range. Download the Conga app and shop on conga.com, MedPlus, Bido Pharmacy, Net Pharmacy, and Alpha Pharmacy. Conga Health, a subsidiary of Conga Group, is the exclusive distributor of L'Oreal Dermatological Beauty, world's #1 dermatological beauty brand.
Keystone Mega
From now to December 31st, 2025, you could be one of the 565 lucky winners in the Keystone Mega Milli giveaway. Simply carry out 10 transactions or more on any Keystone Bank channel for weekly cash wins, or save 10,000 naira or more for a month to qualify for the mega draw where millionaires are made. No account yet? Download the Key mobile app from your app store and open one today for your share of millions. T's and C's apply. Keystone Bank. We grow together.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. As the Senate resumed plenary on Tuesday, one of the bills that was passed for consideration was the Central Gaming Bill 2025. Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, the Senate leader and representative for Ekiti Central, plays a pivotal role as the bill progresses in the Senate following its passage in the House of Reps. The bill has been proposed in Nigeria with the intent to establish a comprehensive regulatory framework for online and remote gaming, aiming to replace the previously repealed National Lottery Act of 2005. However, there have been calls by the Federation of State Gaming Regulators of Nigeria asking the Senate not to approve the bill. In a petition addressed to the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, the group argued that the National Assembly's lawmaking powers in this area extend only to the Federal Capital Territory. Any attempt to extend such powers to the states, they said, would be unconstitutional and inconsistent with Nigeria's federal structure. Joining us on this show to discuss the Central Gaming Bill is Oyeni Emmanuel, a lawyer and co-founder and managing partner of Circle LLP. He's also a business advisor with over a decade of deep expertise at the intersection of telecommunications, gaming, and technology, and across Africa. Well, good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Yes, very good. Well, what is the problem with the Central Gaming Bill? Passed at the House of Reps, now an issue before the Senate of the Federal Republic. Is federalism at the center of it, or it is much ado about nothing? Considering, of course, the fact that gaming or lottery or what they call it is such a big business. And one man set up, was it an airline? You know,
an airline, bank, an energy company,
from lottery business. And then we also know, you know, I don't want to embarrass anybody. Anyway, let's listen.
I think, good morning again, and thank you for having me. And condolences again to the Arise team for the recent loss. So it's, I think to your point, federalism is at the center of it because the Constitution is involved. Right? It's a 14-year debate. The matter first started in 2008 before the Supreme Court. And then last year, November 2024, the Supreme Court gave a decision that clarified the position of the Constitution. Right? The question essentially is whether or not, or who has the ability to regulate gaming in Nigeria, so lotteries and gaming. And the Supreme Court was very clear and very unequivocal, saying that the states are the ones that have the jurisdiction to regulate gaming and lotteries. And it was clear. As a matter of fact, the entire industry adjusted. The NLRC, or the erstwhile NLRC, which used to be the entity that regulated gaming nationally, or purported to regulate gaming nationally, became an FCT agency, a self-regulatory agency within the FCT, and then the states came together to form the FSGR, which is the Federation of State Gaming Regulators. And so with this, the industry had a sense of direction, right? But pre the judgment and post the judgment, the Central Gaming Bill has come back into conversation, right? Where the promoters of the bill are looking to have an agency regulate gaming. But I think the fundamental question here is the fact that the Supreme Court already gave a decision, right? And I think the key thing in that decision is a long read. But one of the key things in the conversation is when the Supreme Court said that the National Assembly cannot regulate anything that has to deal with, cannot pass any laws or legislate on any matters that have to do with gaming and lotteries, right? And so that's what we should all go by. And where you have the Constitution, which is the ground norm, as it were, the foundational document of the country, give a certain position, and then the apex courts then interprets that provision. I don't see, any other argument that can be made against that.
But are you aware whether anyone, including the Federation that you refer to, or any informed person, like say your law firm, for example, has made the effort to draw the attention of the National Assembly to this? Because the National Assembly of Nigeria, that is supposed to make laws for good governance, cannot be seen to be breaking the laws of Nigeria.
Yes, 100%, sir. So I watched the plenary session where the bill was discussed, and thankfully, a lot of senators, whose names I can't mention, of course, essentially reminded the House of the fact that there is a sitting Supreme Court decision and that the Supreme Court has put paid to the issue. And then bringing this up again is more or less trying to, wake up a dead horse, as it were, because the Supreme Court has interpreted a provision of the Constitution. You should be able to go to the bank with that sort of position to say this is what the law is. And then to then have a new law that seeks to, interestingly try to wake that issue up again is the reason why, this is another debate that we're having now. Yes.
Okay, it's an interesting matter because, usually the advice will go to court. But you've already gone to court. The Supreme Court has ruled. And like Dr. Patti mentioned, it's quite curious that the National Assembly will be seen to be breaking the law. So for the sake of this conversation, I'll ask again, then what would be the option? Since you've already gone to court, the court has ruled at the Supreme Court level. And the other question, again, would be some of the other provisions of the Central Gaming Law, which some people, the players and industry are against. One of which is a total ban on online money games. And they have argued that there will be loss of income, job losses as a result of this. But the proposals, the promoters of the bill are saying that they need this because of gaming addiction to be able to address that. Where do you come in on that one? Because these are some of the criticisms that have come up.
Thank you very much. I think that to speak to the second question first, as a matter of what you have, so we've advised a lot of state governments on this issue, and one of the things that has happened in the last few years has been states essentially, in addition to their laws, creating responsible gaming regulations, right? Where there's a blacklist of people who are deemed to be addicted to games. Family members can write to state regulatory authorities saying a person in their family is having these issues and all of that. So I think the states are already in control of that issue. And then to the first point around trade, commerce, and all of that, interestingly, the Supreme Court also spoke to this point, right? Because one of the arguments of the promoters of the bill is the fact that, they're saying that it's online revenue and it's online gaming and all of those things. But the Supreme Court said, and the promoters of the bill, of course, tried to rely on one of the items of the legislative list, where it talks about commerce and economic activity and things like that. And the Supreme Court was very clear, saying that, listen, you can't try to stretch the law when the drafters of the law had a certain intention. So the Supreme Court also spoke on that issue, saying that, if you cannot say gaming and lotteries falls under essential economic activity, because agriculture and sort of those are the areas that the exclusively sought to regulate, whereas things like gaming, which is entertainment and games of chance, should fall properly within the exclusive purview of the states. And so the Supreme Court was very clear on that. And in terms of revenue, right, the states already have come together to coordinate, which is what the FSGR is supposed to be. So the FSGR is a coordination of the state's regulatory agencies coming together to administer the industry. Because the gap that seemed to have existed was the fact that you had all the states coming together, each of them having the power to regulate gaming, and then there is the online aspect of it, which is simply a distribution channel, right? It's not a whole new industry. It's because, you have the shops, you have the tickets, you have all the things, and the mobile app through which users game is essentially a distribution channel, right? And so the states have come together and said to cover and efficiently administer for the benefit of the industry and the sector, let's all come together and form a federation. And that was done earlier this year. There was an agreement signed by the regulators, and they've all come together to say, okay, this is how we're going to move forward. So between the Supreme Court's decision, the provision of the Constitution, and the initiative taken by the state regulators, I think the ground is covered. Right? I believe so. So those questions and all those debates, I would refer, anyone who's concerned to these developments that have happened of late.
Another case of how government tries to stifle innovation and creativity because of justice. Because when they keep making the advanced argument for, this is done on the line, online and everything. What if I take the game into dark web? That's another plausible, really say because you don't get that the full. All right, so secondly,
what if, and the argument of, oh, they want to use as a deterrent for people that are addicted to gaming. What's the empirical data on people addicted to gaming in Nigeria?
I don't know.
Well, maybe you could come up with some of this. Yeah. What's the empirical data on people addicted to gaming in this country based on reportage? I mean, so it just shows that it falls flat on the point, and it's just a way to be able to cannibalize the sector. That people like those you represent build, and it's working. I mean, what can we say to them and tell them this morning not to kill innovation?
Yes, I mean, it's a very valid point you make. And I think the more fundamental and concerning point for us as operators in the industry is the fact that investor confidence is built a lot on regulatory certainty, right? We want to know that if I come into a business or I come into a country and I want to do business, the law doesn't change. So when you have the Constitution and the Supreme Court interpreting a provision of the Constitution, it should not, that should, as a matter of fact, once you have that combination, it should be done. You should be able to go to the bank and say, this is what the position of the law is.
Okay, first, I would like to ask you, what do you recommend? There are some gray areas that you may need to help us clarify. The law talks about digital affairs being exclusive to the federal government, Cybercrime Act, all of that. Now, where do you draw the line? Should the states also be responsible for things like cybercrime, money laundering that are interconnected, in this regard, gaming, lottery, whatever?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. That's a very, very good question, because that essentially is the basis on which, one of the points that the promoters of the Central Gaming Bill have relied on. But I think that there has to be a distinction between form and substance, right? In the sense that where you look at what's being regulated here, right? In terms of substance, it's gaming, right? It's lotteries, it's all the games of chance that exist in the industry. Today, you could go to a shop, do a ticket and game. You could do through other channels, as well as a mobile app, right? Which is a distribution channel. So there's that bit of it, which is the substance of the industry. It's almost saying that you want to hive off the banking app from transactions and the whole.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can I just suggest a quick solution? I've been in many frontier industries that have to do with tech. The solution is, I think what you guys should do is set up a regulatory framework, a regulatory sandbox with government, where both of you and the government and the regulators can see and even make them understand the arguments at first.
I believe this has happened, but we're hoping that
maybe you can do that.
All right, well, thank you so much for being with us today, and hopefully the matters will be resolved, and the ruling of the Supreme Court will be taken into consideration in the framing of this law. Thank you.
Thank you very much.